Hi everyone! Today we're going to be talking about polynomials and different ways to classify and identify polynomials based on how many terms it has and something called the degree. But I don't want to give too much away, so let's get going. Guys, so there's two types of things we need to talk about, one of which is a monomial and one of which is a polynomial. So, a monomial, if you think of the prefix mono, that means one. Okay, so a monomial is an expression that contains only one term. Now, terms are separated by addition and subtraction symbols. So if you don't have any addition or subtraction symbols, that means you only have one term, which means you have a monomial. Like right here, I know there's a 4 and an x squared, but that is all one term because there's not a plus or minus sign anywhere to be found. So 4x squared is a monomial, 3 is a monomial, and xy to the third, z to the fifth is also a monomial. There aren't any addition or subtraction signs, so that means we have monomials here. So all three of these are monomials. Now, polynomials, this is when you have a sum of monomials. So it basically is something that contains more than one term. So mono means one, poly means more than one. Okay, so if you have a polynomial, that means you have more than one term that is added or subtracted together. Okay, so like for example here, we have two terms because there's this nifty little plus sign in between the 2x and the 3. So this has two terms, okay? And then over here we have a subtraction sign here and a plus sign here. Okay, so that means we have a total of 1, 2, 3 terms because these are the objects that are separated by addition and subtraction symbols. So this one has a total of 3 terms. So we have monomials and polynomials. Now we have specific types of polynomials that we need to go over that have special names. So let's go over these. Okay, so we talked about monomial. Monomial consists of one term. Now anything above one term is technically a polynomial. But some polynomials have special names. So if you have two terms, so if you have two terms with one addition or subtraction symbol, okay, this is called a binomial. Binomial. So kind of think of like the prefix bi, like in bicycle, you have two wheels. So a binomial, you have two terms. Okay? Our next special kind of polynomial that we have a name for is called a trinomial. So that is when you have a total of 3 terms. Okay, so if you see here, the 2x squared, the 3x, and the 5 have two addition signs in between that separate all 3 terms. Guys, so if you think of the prefix tri, like in a tricycle, tricycles have 3 wheels. So guess what? A trinomial has 3 terms. Now, once we go above 3 terms, we don't have any special names for the polynomial. So, mathematicians got really lazy early on, and after 3 terms, they didn't feel like naming any more polynomials. So, after you have 3 terms, we don't have a special name for it. It's just called a polynomial. Okay, so like, since this expression has 4 terms, this polynomial only has 4 terms, so we don't have a name for it. So you can call it a polynomial. Sometimes you call it based on how many terms it has. So you could say a polynomial of 4 terms or something like that. Okay, so after 3 terms, there aren't any special names, unfortunately. Now, another thing we need to talk about is what actually makes up a polynomial. What is that? So polynomials contain only whole number exponents. Okay, so what that means is there cannot be variables in the exponent. That's called an exponential, which you'll learn about later on. Okay, you can't have variables in the denominator. Okay, you also can't have any radicals or any weird symbols in your expression. Okay, if you have any of those things, it is no longer a polynomial. Those are different kinds of functions, which you'll learn about later on. Okay, so also, again, no weird symbols. So polynomials cannot have absolute value. So just watch yourself, okay? So these are things that are not polynomials. So we have a radical symbol, so definitely not a polynomial. We have a variable that is in the denominator, so that is definitely not a polynomial. Okay, this one has a variable in the exponent. Again, that is called an exponential, so not a polynomial. And this final expression right here has absolute value symbols. So it is definitely not a polynomial. So these are all things that are not polynomials. So watch yourselves. The demon cats are always always about. So just watch out because they could get you at any moment. Okay, so now we need to talk about something called a degree or a leading coefficient. Okay? So the degree, basically each term has a degree. Also, the entire polynomial has a degree. Okay, so if you add up all the exponents that are on variables in a term, so be careful, this is only about variables. Okay, if you add up all the exponents on all the variables within one term, that is the degree of your term. Okay, now the degree of a polynomial is classified by the term that contains the highest degree. So once you add up all the exponents within that one term, whichever term has the largest degree, that will actually be the degree of the entire polynomial. Now, for the sake of this class, basically the degree of your polynomial is going to be the term that has the highest exponent. So look at which x in your expression has the highest exponent, and bam, that will be your degree. Okay, now like when we have terms, we have polynomials that have special names for different types of degrees. And we have more special names, so it's going to get exciting. Okay, so our first example is a degree 0 polynomial. Now, if you see here, we don't have any variables in this first expression. We just have a 5. Okay, if you don't have any variables, there actually secretly is a variable there. Okay, the secret variable that's there that you can't see, it's like a sneaky little ninja. Okay, so if you see this x to the 0, anything to the 0 power is 1. So this is like 5 times 1, which is 5. So if you ever see a polynomial, or in this case a monomial, that doesn't have any variables in it, that is called a constant polynomial because the degree is 0. It's constant, it never changes. It's always going to be 5. Okay, so this one, since it only has one term, we'd call it a constant monomial. Okay, the next one, we already know it has 2 terms, which means it's a binomial. Okay, and then to find the degree of the entire polynomial, we want to know which x has the highest exponent. Well, this one doesn't have an x, so secretly this one has an x to the 0 in it. This one has an x in it, but I don't see an exponent, which means there's secretly a 1 in the exponent. Okay, so this is technically x to the 0 because it doesn't have a variable. This one is x to the first. So the highest exponent is x to the first. Okay, so the degree of my polynomial is 1 because that is my highest exponent. And the special name that we have for degree 1 is linear. Okay, this next one is one term again, which means it's a monomial. Okay, the highest exponent on my x is a 2. Okay, so when the highest exponent is 2, it's a degree 2, which is called a quadratic. Okay, our next one has 3 terms, which we know is called a trinomial. Okay, this x is x to the first. Okay, this one's x squared, and this one is x to the third. Okay, out of all 3 of these, the highest exponent is x to the third, which means it's a cubic or degree 3. Okay, so since the highest exponent on my variable is a 3, it's degree 3, and the special name for degree 3 is a cubic polynomial. So this is technically a cubic trinomial. Okay, this next one has 2 terms, which means it's a binomial. My highest exponent, we have x squared and we have x to the 4th, so the higher one is x to the 4th. So this is a degree 4, and the special name for degree 4 is a quartic. So this is a quartic binomial. Alright, and our final one, we have 4 terms, which remember, when you get above 3 terms, we don't have a special name for it. So it's a polynomial of 4 terms. And then to figure out the degree, well, this term doesn't have a variable in it, so it's technically degree 0. This term, the exponent on the x is secretly a 1, so it's degree 1. This one, the exponent is 2, so it's degree 2. And this term, the exponent is a 5, so it's degree 5. So the degree of the polynomial is the highest out of all 4 of these, which is x to the 5th. So it's a degree 5, and the special name, this one's my favorite, it's called a quintic. Try saying that 5 times fast. Kind of weird, right? I know. So degree 5 is called a quintic polynomial. So usually when you're naming polynomials, you name it by the degree and how many terms. So this would be like a constant monomial, then like a linear binomial, a quadratic monomial, cubic trinomial, quartic binomial, and then the last one is a quintic polynomial of 4 terms. So we don't have a special name for 4 terms. Okay, so knowing all that, now let's start our first example problem. So we'll be doing examples 1 through 4 all together. Okay, so what we're going to do, we're going to name each polynomial by its number of terms and by the degree. Okay, so let's get going. So the degree, this is the variable that contains the highest exponent in the whole polynomial. So if we look here, oh, didn't mean to do that, sorry guys. Okay, if we look here, this term doesn't have an x in it, so secretly it's x to the 0. So this is degree 0. This one is x, which if I don't see an exponent, it's secretly x to the first. So this is degree 1. And then this term is x squared, so it's degree 2. So the highest out of all 3 of those is x squared, so it's degree 2. Okay, that's the highest exponent, so degree 2. And the special name for degree 2 is a quadratic. So this is called, technically it's called a quadratic. Okay, and then the number of terms, let's count them all up. So we have a total of 1, 2, 3. So we have 3 terms. And the special name for when you have 3 terms is a trinomial. So this is a quadratic trinomial. Cool beans, right? All right, let's go on to example 2. So example 2, again, let's start with the degree. So 2 doesn't have a variable in it, so technically, remember when you're missing a variable, it's called degree 0. So this is degree 0. This term's highest exponent is x to the 4th. So the highest exponent out of the whole polynomial is x to the 4th. So it's degree 4, and the special name for degree 4 is... You guys always know the right answer. It is degree 4, which is a quartic. So that's a quartic polynomial, and it has a total of 2 terms, which means the special name for 2 terms is a binomial. So this is a quartic binomial. Okay, let's do example 3. So example 3, again, let's start with the degree. So 5 doesn't have any variables in it, so it's degree 0. This one has just an x, which means its exponent, there's a sneaky little exponent up here, x to the 1st. You can't see it, but it's there. Okay, and then this one is x to the 3rd. So the highest out of all 3 of these is x to the 3rd. So it's a degree 3 polynomial, which the special name for degree 3 is cubic. Nice job, you guys. Okay, and then we have a total of 1, 2, 3 terms, and the special name for 3 terms is a trinomial. So this is a cubic trinomial. Okay, and example 4, our final one for right now. So, again, the degree. Which term has the highest exponent? Okay, well, we have x to the 0, because I don't see anything here. Secretly, this is x to the 1st. We got x to the 3rd, and we have x to the 5th. So the highest exponent out of all 4 of those is x to the 5th. So it's a degree 5 polynomial, which is called my favorite one, which is a quintic polynomial. And this one has a total of 1, 2, 3, 4 terms. And remember, when you go above 3 terms, you don't have a special name for it. So this is just simply a polynomial of 4 terms, or you could just call it a polynomial. So it's either a quintic polynomial, or if you want to be more specific, you could say a quintic polynomial of 4 terms. And that's it on these 4. So nice work, you guys.